But if you look at the violent culture or the number of deaths or the rate of crime and violent crime in states like Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, South Carolina, Georgia, we have a problem. And we're just not doing a good enough job. But we also don't necessarily have the resources poured into our community to help lift those people.
I hate people who speak like this, man.
The Ben Shapiros of the world. Yeah. These people who don't necessarily have the intellect to have honest discussions, but but yet they're able to become millionaires because they're actually just circulating and promulgating this fear.
So as soon as the video opens, he immediately just begins disrespecting Ben Shapiro. And the reason I'm bringing this up because you'll see what happens next. You'll see what happens next. Here's my thing. If you are open enough, if you are bold enough to outwardly disrespect another man or woman, by the way, you better be ready to defend your claim. But let's continue.
There are many, many confounds when it comes to these particular issues. And unless you remove the statistical confounds, you end up with trying to blame vague, shadowy figures like implicit bias, which are innately, insanely difficult, if not impossible to measure.
I don't know what he just said.
I'm sorry.
Well, all you have to do is ask my father, who literally was shot in the Orangeburg Massacre, right? Who helped found SNCC, who marched with Marion Barry and Stokely Carmichael and Martin Luther King, and the list goes on and on and on. And he will tell you today that he feels like this country's at 1954.
What? First off, you open the video saying that the idiots of the world like Ben Shapiro, who get rich off of nothing practically, then it transitions until Ben Shapiro talking to you. You don't even understand what he's talking about. You don't even understand the synthesis he said. He looked you right in the eyes and said this. Now, you're talking about your grandfather thinks the world is in the same state as 1954. Are you kidding me? That is an extremely ignorant and harmful statement. 1954, how insensitive can you be to what our ancestors been through, to what people have been through in the 1950s, to even sit here and even utter that as if it's even remotely true at all? Come on, man, that's terrible.
1954. And so if you want to talk about somebody,
that doesn't mean it is. Well, you said he feels that way. That's ridiculous. It is. Come on.
But I think the ridiculous notion is for either one of you all to have the audacity to believe that you understand what the experience is to be.
I have to object to that.
But you just said
I cannot talk about it because I am not part of a group. I am a sentient human being. You're right. There's two ways you cannot understand something. One is to be too far from it. We're too far from it. We can't see like you can. One is to be too close to something. And then sometimes you can't see it accurately.
But even still, I get what he's saying. Oh, y'all, he tried to say, oh, you don't understand because you're not black. That's what he was going to say. I'm black. This world is nothing like the 1950s. And even your statement is kind of ironic that you're saying that, because you're saying, well, they can't understand because they're not black. Well, can you understand what the world was like in 1950s? You weren't there. Do you understand how idiotic that statement is? Unless you can directly experience something, you don't understand it. Then what's the point of learning? What's the point of going through history? Oh, we're not there, so it doesn't matter, right? Do you see how stupid that statement is? But back to the initial point. Just because they're not black doesn't mean that your statement was any more accurate. Your statement was still pretty stupid. And I'm saying that, and I'm black. I can't even believe this, man. Let's go back.
I'm not too close to something. I am that.
I know.
And so, but what I am saying though is for you to discount my father's experience and say that
I'm discounting it. Your father is wrong. At first I said grandfather, but they're wrong. This world is nothing like the 1950s. He is wrong. And I'm black. I'm going to say it. He is wrong. Do you know what people went through in the 1950s? You couldn't go to college in the 1950s being black without discrimination. Couldn't even go to a library while being black. Walking while being black was almost a crime. There was an entire civil rights movement for what we went through. And you're saying today is any resemblance at all to that? It's crazy to me. Do you know there are scholarships just for black kids to go to college? Was that happening in the 1950s? Were we even allowed to go to college in the 1950s? We were allowed to go to college in the 1950s, I believe. But y'all get the point of what I'm saying. I'm discounting him because he's wrong. And the fact that you're bringing this up to justify some type of racial discrimination today is insane to me.
And to say it was silly.
I'm not.
No, he was shot.
No,
Were
shit.
you shot?
No, but he's still alive. Like, he's right here. Like,
Right, but the idea that if I were to say to you, as a Jew, that the experience of Jews in the United States today is worse than the experience of Jews in Europe in 1939, I would not be stating accurately.
Correct.
It's not true.
That's
and it's
right.
also not true to say that the experience of black people in America in 2024 is worse on a general level than the experience of black men in 1954 in Alabama. That's just crazy.
But I mean, I think
Over the 4th of July weekend, there's 109 people in Chicago who were shot, 19 fatally. That's a lot over a weekend.
Yeah.
And the race of the victims will not be reported. Is that helpful? And why is that? Why don't they report that? Let's have some real talk here.
and people want to make it a blue city thing. But if you look at the violent culture or the number of deaths or the rate of crime and violent crime in states like Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, South Carolina,
Right.
Georgia, we have a problem. And we're just not doing a good enough job. But we also don't necessarily have the resources poured into our community to help lift those people.
I hate people who speak like this, man. I don't like it. Because you can still be an advocate and point blame, right? You know how when let's say you have kids and you could love your kids to death. A lot of good parents, they love their kids to death. But that does not mean they don't discipline their kids. They will still discipline their kids. I take it a step further. They're the number one discipliner of their kids. And this is kind of where I'm getting at. He's an advocate, I believe, of the Black Lives Matter movement or of black civil rights movements, so on and so forth. If you look at the black community and you can only see what other people have done to us and not what we've done to ourselves to cause issues, I don't trust you. I don't trust you. He's talking about crime rates in the black community. And your rebuttal to this was, well, we're not getting enough resources. What? Is that the reason black kids are shooting each other? Is that the reason people shoot each other and sell drugs? Because they're not getting enough books and iPads to do math problems on. All I'm saying is you have to be a fair critic. You can still point out what you think a community deserves while also saying, yeah, but this community can do better in these areas.
Pull up. I hate when people say pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and we don't have no damn boots.
I mean, I'll disagree with the last aspect only to the extent that I do believe that everybody in the United States has the capacity to get married, father kids, and stay with the family that they created.
Well, Donald Trump didn't.
I mean, I disagree with that. And I disagree with that. And it doesn't, by the way, I should know, does not undercut the point at all, and you, I think, agree with me.
Well, I mean, I hear you, but I think where I would probably disagree with both of you guys is that we've never really evaluated the systems that we have in this country. I mean, most times.
What are you talking about? We evaluate the system all the time. We make like a new committee to evaluate systems like every 2 years. There's a new administration or agency in America like every 2 years because all we do is evaluate the system that we built. This got to be a joke. This got to be a joke.
I just asked the question.
I'm bringing us together. I'm bringing us together.
If we're talking about single motherhood, for example, obviously the rate of single motherhood in the black community has increased from 20% to.
Yeah, he obviously didn't really understand. He just wasn't prepared for this conversation. I'm gonna be honest. He wasn't prepared. He wasn't even accurate. It was kind of insulting, if I'm being honest. It was a little insulting. But anyways, LFR Jojo, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see y'all next time.